Okay, so we're streaming now. Let me check my Facebook if it's okay. We'll just share. Just give us a minute.
Sure.
Streaming na Len, hindi pa nag-appear sa Facebook ko.
Opo, nag-stream na po.
Hindi pa lumalabas yung Pix Pro is now live. Yun. There you go. All right. So we're live now. We'll just wait for our audience to pick up. Then we'll start in a few minutes, okay? So we're here now. Good afternoon, mga ka-Pix Pro. So we have 11 viewers already who are online. So happy Friday, mga ka-Pix Pro, no? So isang maulang hapon sa inyong lahat. Yun, si Sir Tarion is signing in. Sir Tarion, our avid follower. Dito na rin si President Jen ng NCR. President Jen, by the way, NCR chapter, you did a great job last week. Natatakot nga kami. Baka mapalitan na kami dito sa kwentuhang cyber nila Bipimia. Pero yeah, you did a great job last Friday. Very interactive, very insightful, and the discussion was really lively, no? Imagine buong NCR chapter Bipimia nandun, no? So medyo mabigat, no? Si Brother Jules Aribon ng Fortinet. Brother Jules, good afternoon. I miss you. Kailan ulit tayo mag-driving range? Ang tagal na natin din nagkikita, buddy, ha? Si
Fairway na. Bakit pa mag-driving range? Fairway na.
Fairway na. Albert Remo. Naku, kaka-birthday lang nito, Mr. Chair. Belated happy birthday, Betongs.
Happy birthday, brother.
Birthday. Si Kritz Bansuela, nandyan na rin. Kritz, magandang hapon. Ka-Pix Pro Kritz. Good afternoon. So we have 15 na. Let's just wait for a few minutes. So this afternoon, mga ka-Pix Pro, napaka-interesting ng topic natin. Kakaiba naman siya, pero this is very timely, no? So it's more on digital risk protection. So pinaunlakan tayo ng isa nating tech partner, si Mandiant, no? Na sila ang ngayon magli-lead ng session natin with regards to digital risk protection. So standby lang mga ka-Pix Pro, ha. Yun si Mr. Chair, si Ben Isra nandito ulit. Hello Ben, good afternoon. Thank you for always signing in every Friday, ha.
Maayong hapon, bay.
Maayong nga pala, bay nga pala. Maayong hapon, bay.
Hello, BP.
Sabi ko kanina, Mr. Chair, yung last episode ng NCR chapter, grabe. Binumog kasi parang may beauty pageant dito sa kwentuhang cyber, no? Gagandang babae.
Oh. Although, let's wait for Mr. Chair to come back. I think he got disconnected. Hi, Betong. Good afternoon.
Maayong hapon, bye Ben. Si Gerald Belga. Good afternoon, Gerald. Thank you for joining our kwentuhang cyber this afternoon, no? So definitely mag-enjoy kayo sa topic natin. Medyo kakaiba siya pero very timely, very timely. And we are graced by our expert from Mandiant Technologies, no? So later on we will discuss that one. Si BP Mia nasa airport pa yan, mga ka-Pix Pro, ha, pero nandito kasama natin ngayon, no? Nasa biyahe yan si BP Mia. Safe travels, BP Mia. BP Sheila, kung nanonood ka, kamusta? We miss you here. Tsaka si Vice Chair Oka, tsaka si President Ace, no? Hopefully they could join us later on the discussion, no?
Busy na siguro si Mr. President sa Senate.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know.
At saka si Vice Chair, busy. Media briefing kami the other day.
Sir,
Ah.
hindi ka na ma-reach.
Nakita ko nga eh. Ang dami mong appearance this week sa TV, Mr. Chair eh.
Kailangan. Si Vice Chair din, daming daming mga media briefings. BP Mia, nasa hotel ka na ba?
Wala pa, Mr. Chair. Nandito lang sa tabi-tabi.
Nasa Singapore Airport yan si BP Mia ngayon.
Kung gusto nyo ng pasalubong, mga kapits,
Nako!
bro,
Nako!
i-type nyo lang.
Naku,
Uy, si
Alex.
si Seven Hosting. Andyan na.
Ayoko nga! Taga-chan nyo na!
Oo nga pala.
Uy, Seven
Malalaman
Hosting.
nyo, diyan ka, pupunta ka na sa airport, sigurado.
Wala kang ginagawa ha. Puntahan nga, kailangan kausap ni VP Mia dyan. Uy, si President Jen ng NCR chapter.
Yeah, si President. Nandito
Si
rin
Reese.
si Reese Balbastro. Hi Reese, magandang hapon sa'yo. Welcome to Kwentuhang Cyber. Mga partners natin from NCR. Si Mike Angelo Martido, happy weekend daw, Mr. Chair. Happy weekend, sana. Okay, siguro pwede na tayo magsimula. Mr. Chair, no? 24 na tayo. So, maulang hapon, mga Kapix Pro. Yeah, maulang hapon nga. So, okay. Without further ado, no? So, magandang hapon ulit, mga Kapix Pro. So, alas 5 na. It's Friday, 5 p.m. So, alas Pix Pro na. So, this afternoon, we installed a very, very interesting topic sa inyo. So it will sound new, no? Pero very timely at this age and stage of digitalization, no? So this afternoon, our discussion will revolve around digital risk protection service. So parang very technical, no? But if you come to think of it, every one of us, the businesses, the professionals, and even individuals, no, are affected by this because we have all, for the companies, we have all digital assets for personal use. We have our own digital identities, right? So we have to protect those, no. And during the pandemic, no, businesses have undergone aggressive digital transformation. As a matter of fact, what pushed the digitalization of the enterprises is really the pandemic. For the obvious reasons that, you know, we are all working from home. We're not in our corporate office, and the only way really to collaborate effectively and do our jobs is to digitize everything, right? But this digitalization or this transformation also opens up a lot of attack surface, no? Kasi you are transitioning from one technology to another. So it is it is imperative that attack surface will grow. So we need to protect that. And with this afternoon, we have our very special guest. BP Mia, do you want to do the introduction of our guest this afternoon?
Sure, VP Alex, although please bear with me. I don't have my reading glass. I broke it. So, yes, so for good afternoon, everyone. For today, we have Mr. Dan Vetri Van Nathan. I hope I pronounced your surname correctly. Thank you. Yes, Dan is a senior systems engineer at Mandiant. With a 20-plus year experience. He is a seasoned security practitioner with knowledge across security technologies and associated business risks. With a thorough understanding of today's business digital transformation challenges around cybersecurity risks, he looks forward to this opportunity to present the challenges coupled with solutions from Mandiant. So without further ado, I turn it over to Dan.
Yes, Dan.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hello, Dan. Dan, before you proceed, Let me just acknowledge the sales director of Amdocs, no, Miss Shera. Shera
Hi,
is watching us, and she's very interested with your topic, Dan.
Okay.
But,
Hi, Sarah.
yeah, so okay, proceed.
Okay. So yeah, again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I've been looking forward to it since we set this up to participate in local groups such as Pix Pro. I think having been here in the Philippines myself for like 4 years, I think I should get more involved with this such community. And I think together we can make the digital environment that all of us live, breathe, as Sir Alex was saying, more safer. So give me a moment while I will share my deck. Give me a second. Okay, can you all still hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so seems like this is the first time I'm sharing with Zoom, and
Okay.
according to according to my settings, my security and privacy settings, it says you'll need to quit and reopen Zoom. So
Okay.
apologies if I'm going to drop and come back in. So I'll be back
Okay,
as soon
sure,
as
sure.
possible.
So, habang nagla-log on ulit si no, si Dan, no. So, let's greet some of our guests who are here this afternoon.
VP
So,
Alex, si Press Ace is watching. Hi,
oh, Press
Press.
Ace. Maganda nga po. Miss ka na namin, Press Ace. Hope you're doing good there in the Senate, no? So, alam namin busy-busy ka na, Mr. Press, no? So, si Tubo nandito. Good afternoon, mga ka-Pix Pro. Of course, si Patrick Sulit. Sabi niya, Mr. Chair, you're looking young and fresh, no? Yan ang nagagawa, Patrick, pag nag-vegetarian ka. Yan ang isasagot sa iyo ni Mr. Chair. Kaya inunahan ko na. I represent Mr. Chair to reply to you, no? Si Victor Acevedo nandito rin. Si Catherine nandito. Good afternoon, mga ka-Pix Pro, no? Si Orly Nuts. So, salamat sa pagsali nyo sa amin this Friday afternoon. Okay, Dan, you're there. You're back.
Yes, I'm back. So thank you for bearing with my technical challenges. Give me a second while I get my slides up. That's good. Okay, I presume everybody can see my deck. Let me go into presentation mode. Okay, so title is kind of bizarre, especially when we're in the rainy season. Is our digital transformation becoming a tsunami of digital risks? So again, thank you for this opportunity to talk to Pix Pro. I'm Dan Vetrivanathan. Thank you for the introduction. Mamia, Senior Systems Engineer at Mandiant. And for everyone on the call, I'm actually based here in the Philippines. So if you're going to meet up, I'm only local to all of you. So what I want to cover today is I'll talk less about Mandiant. I think a lot of people know about that. So I'll skip through those slides very quickly. I want to spend time talking about digital risk protection, how it actually fits into the attack lifecycle. After all, what we are trying to do here is almost understand what the bad guys would do, i.e. using their attack lifecycle and stopping them as early as possible, right? So DRPS actually drops right in at the early reconnaissance side of the attack lifecycle. So it's a great way to stop the bad guys as early as possible. Now, the DRPS is actually made up of different modules from Mandiant, which is made out of attack surface management, which I believe, along with cyber threat intelligence, has already been presented to Pix Pro back in March by my colleagues. Yi Hao and Sugim. So great, that's covered. I will probably touch on that as a refresher for a minute, if that. But then concentrate on DTM, or digital threat monitoring, which is the new offering from Mandiant that went live in June. But together with digital threat monitoring, attack surface management, and cyber threat intelligence, and also threat profiling, which I'll touch in at the later end, is your DRPS modules. Okay, I'm going to breeze through this, right, as agreed with Sir Alex earlier. So Mandiant is here to help answer a lot of these questions, right? Because typically what we are after is what's happening to our data, our digital data. It's everywhere now, right? It's in the palm of your hand, in your mobile phone, right to a cloud that is hosted probably on the far side of the globe, right? So you want to understand how is it protected? How can I continuously keep it protected? So Mandiant has been in the business for a long, long time, typically started with the incident response. But one thing I want to stress here is our entire portfolio, whether it's our SaaS offering or consulting service, is built on the foundation of our threat intelligence. Threat intel is what makes actionable items come out of whatever risks that you may discover in order to apply the right mitigation, remediation, protection. We've done loads of these through ransomware victims that have come to us for help in crisis, spanning across not only different sectors, government, countries, globally. So all this knowledge actually goes back into our threat intel, which now feeds up to ASM and DTM to really enrich the service. Okay. So for Mandiant, we've got the SaaS platform called Advantage. It's made out of these components, right? I'm sure we'll get another chance to look at those, but today I want to concentrate on digital risk protection service. As mentioned earlier, the intelligence and the attack surface was already covered, but today I want to concentrate on the final component that makes this package, which is DTM, or digital threat monitoring. Okay. Now, DRPS is actually a term coined by Gartner, not us, not somebody else. So Gartner came up with it back in 2021, around the same time, like what Sir Alex was saying, right? Everybody went digital helter-skelter 2 years ago, simply because we had to make business process running, right? Everybody was dispatched from the offices, everybody were locked away, but business had to carry on, operations had to carry on. So digitization took a very speed track. And it actually did well, it actually helped all of us carry on doing our work remotely as well as we could. But what has happened in that speed was typically, like we are all in the cybersecurity industry, it doesn't get a first look immediately. It should do, but it doesn't. And now, almost now a year later, it's becoming an issue that we've gone digital to enable business operations during the pandemic. But now we are sitting back and saying, oh, we're not going to go back to our old ways, because the new ways actually works. To be honest, it probably works more efficiently. But hey, have we looked at protecting all our digital assets and data that we've pushed left, right, and center, right? So that is what Gartner is saying, that the critical digital assets are everywhere. So these are available in the open web. So the open web is the one that everyone has easy access to. Your social media, your website, your email, etc. And then we come down to what we call a deep web. Now, the definition of deep web is data that is out there, but it's severely locked down. It's good data that is locked down. Typically, data that holds a lot of personally identified information. Healthcare, who are storing these, they are considered deep web because they secure it very, very tightly. Okay, so it's good data, but we also want to know that data doesn't suddenly get abused, right? The final one is where a lot of the adversarial activity happens, the dark web. The dark web is the underground, which is very closed forum. It's very difficult to get in there to understand what are these threat actors planning to do with whatever digital assets of ours that they have found, how they're able to market it to whoever's willing to pay a price, right? The positive thing there for us is Mandiant has been in the dark web ever since it started. So a lot of our practitioners are there pretending to understand what's going on in a malicious way, but be able to harvest that intelligence and use it for the good of cybersecurity. So this is what Gartner is saying. Not just the open web, but also the deep web and the dark web. We need to be able to identify potential threats. And again, I think this is a recap. Back to what I said earlier. The current footprint right in the middle is there, but the digital transformation is happening at pace. It happened at pace 2 years ago, but that pace is not stopping. Pandemic is settled, and we are coming out of it. But the speed of digitization that we did 2 years ago is still running, right? Still ongoing. I think it's almost as if the pandemic almost kickstarted a lot of people to say that digitization is actually good for businesses, is good for operations. But we, as cybersecurity professionals, have to inject the cybersecurity components around digital transformation. We need to be able to be equipped with the right technologies, people, knowledge, process, in order to reduce that attack surface as it's growing wider and wider. Okay, I'll go through this attack life cycle. Now, this is your classic attack life cycle as prescribed by MITRE in their attack framework, right from what a bad guy does. Now, the reason why this is important is if we understand what the bad threat actor is thinking, doing, moving forward, then we can try and mitigate, stop that person as early as possible, right? And even if it's gone further down the chain, have mechanisms to stop it. So we have security controls, we have alerting, we got operations. But today I've put this life cycle here because I want to call out eventually where does DRPS sit. So typically the breach happens here after the initial compromise, right? Reconnaissance happens to understand what you have, and then the compromise happens, right? Okay. And then what happens to impact? The impact slowly moves right until the mission is complete as far as the actor is concerned, right? So we're trying to stop him right from the recon all the way through the chain, not wait till it comes to the chain, but as early as possible, right? And this is where DRPS helps. Up to the initial compromise today, we have prevention technologies. We have our EDRs on our endpoints, right? We have network visibility. We have email security. We have cloud security. So that's a prevention. Now, response comes when things has happened, and we also have that in our security operations, our SIEM, etc. So we also have that. But you know, we want to try and stop these guys as early as possible. That's the aim now. And that is how DRPS will help us, because DRPS actually stops right at very, very early in the life cycle. It gives us enough information at the initial reconnaissance stage to understand what is happening to your digital assets, right? Now the DRPS modules. I'll do a recap on threat intel and ASM. For threat intel, that is the fundamental of cybersecurity. We have a lot of telemetry coming from the technologies that we deploy. Great. We know how we operate in our own business line. Imagine if you have the right specific actionable intelligence that overlays onto whatever information you have. Not only you can cover your risk reactively, things that happen and you've got some intel, but proactively, intelligence is being fed constantly into you, telling you things that are possibly happening out there as early as we can, so that you can go and take the right steps to mitigate and remediate it. Attack surface management. A colleague of mine spoke about this a couple of months ago. Attack surface management is the ability to look at all the digital assets that you know, you control, you own. So these are web servers that are publicly available. These are your social media account that you have control over. And what ASM does is it analyzes various assets that you have and see if there are any known vulnerabilities, risks, and provide remediation advice, how to mitigate, reduce that surface, and eventually remove it. Now, ASM also has the capabilities of continuously monitoring it, because we all know we are in such a dynamic world. When we deploy something today, very quickly we will remold it to look at something else. Now, you want to keep monitoring it constantly. So for any changes, you'll be able to catch if there's any potential exposure to attacks. digital threat monitoring. Digital threat monitoring actually enhances ASM because it can now find information at an early reconnaissance stage about assets that you have that you really don't have control on. Kind of bizarre, right? I'll give you some example. Brand, how it can monitor and protect your brand, because the social media environment and the global environment of digital space allows people to freely abuse branding, freely abuse knowledge about your identity, freely abuse knowledge about the data that you have, right? Now, that is something that is yours, but you cannot control. If an asset tomorrow is misbehaving, I mean, for the worst case, you can turn it off, right? You can actually turn it off because you own it. Okay, ASM can tell you that, and you can turn it off as an extreme. But if a threat actor posts something that is malicious about your VIPs in your organization, about your brand, there's not a lot you can do immediately. But the point is, you want to know it before you are told by the media or the press or some government agency who's regulating your operations, right? Digital threat monitoring does that because it's able to pick up and scour the open, the deep, and the dark web to tell you if someone is doing in an abusive manner of your branding and of your assets. How do we do this? So DTM, part of our intel again, collects data about yourselves as and when you subscribe on the open web, what is happening in the news, blogs. So these are all the open web, right? Because news and blogs are publicly available. So we go and find out if there's anything that's happening on that news constantly in real time, right? The threat intelligence is done both by machine learning and natural language processing. So the machine can learn enough, but now our machine learning capabilities has NLP. So natural language processing is to be able to read blogs, which is in simple English, and pick out any information there that could be detrimental to yourself, and then send it to an analyst who can verify it. So the machine does it at speed, right? But then we still have humans, still need humans who will verify, who will absolutely acknowledge whether this is an actual threat, and then work with yourselves, part of the DRPS program, right? Now, that is the open world. Now we go into deep and dark and underground world where we can go and find out stuff that people can't easily do that because the presence in those environments needs quote unquote trust. Funny way to use trust in the dark web, but the dark web, people have to trust somebody before they'll open up to you. So Mandiant are there, have been there since day one. So we have some level of trust to be able to understand what's going on in just purely watching to see what information, what exchanges of conversation is going on, right? So, and that is all fed back to our customers, our clients, and whoever uses our DRPS program. Pay sites is another good thing. Pay sites is where people are quite happily to copy and paste configuration and put it into public space. Pastebin is absolutely notorious. Pastebin is a good service to allow collaboration of code and data, but it's also used for malicious activity, right? People who find data, they sell it on pay sites. And again, those pay sites are also scraped and verified. So once we have these, again, as you can see in the collection technique, we have the automated, we got the crawlers, we got botnets monitoring, but we also got manual collection. We pass it to processing. Now, this is what is important, where we can use human abilities. We have got very seasoned and large operations of intelligence analysts who's able to use the data that's coming in and to be able to categorize how true it is, do a bit more research, and advise our customers and our subscribers to DRPS how relevant it is and what actions they can take. Okay, here's a snapshot of the portal, right? It's simple. You create a monitor, right? You create a monitor, you sign up, it's SaaS, it's so simple. You sign up, it's readily available once you got access. And then we've got predefined monitors. People who want to monitor card shop, which are people who might have data, will be able to do that, right? And credential monitoring, where you feel that you may have to monitor credentials, we can go and do that. Domain protection, is anybody trying to cyber squat or spin up a domain that is similar spelling to your domain, has got a hyphen in the domain name, pretending to be you, it can catch that. But you know what? Let me pivot and show you the demo in real time. Okay. I presume everybody can still see my browser. So Alex, can you see my browser?
Yes, Dan, we can see it.
Okay,
Very
okay,
clear,
right.
very clear.
Okay, now, so on this one, hang on, let me just move this window away. Okay, that's better. So this is the main portal, as you can see, and this is the threat intel portal, which you may have seen before already during the previous presentation. So threat intel gives you real-time information on the most active malware, and on a subscription basis, we can actually, I mean, this is an open information here, right? But on subscription, all this threat intelligence gets completely customized to your organization. So you won't see everything and anything, although that data is available. But what you will see on actors and malware is what is relevant to your industry, to your organization. So it's very specific, right? So that is threat intel. ASM, attack surface management. This is knowing about the status of all your public-facing digital assets. You tell ASM what are your IP blocks, what is your domain, what email addresses that you're using, for example. It will go away and check and see how healthy is your asset. Here is an example of the dashboard. I'll just quickly run through the dashboard where it's able to say, since almost a year ago, okay, back in September, this is how it's been trending on critical and high and medium base severity. And what are some of the severity? It's found that one of your web servers is running a particular software that has a recorded vulnerability. Okay, and then what technologies you run, which countries your assets are running, which is also quite important because it gives you an immediate snapshot. If you start seeing your asset in a country that you don't believe you operate out of, or you have a data center, that's a red flag for you to act upon, right? But this is ASM, the known assets, which you have seen before. Now, let me jump onto DTM, right? Digital threat monitoring. It looks like a lot, and these are the alerts that we can get based on a monitor, okay? So how do we set it up? Let's go to a monitor as I showed before, and you can create the monitors based on 7 predefined, highly used monitors by our subscribers and our customers. A lot of people want to know about domain protection, right? So if I go into domain protection, for example, so all it says here is search the collection continuously and do a domain discovery where my brand name is there, right? So you put your brand name there. You put in your domain names here. So the minute there's some kind of obfuscation of your domain name. So if your domain was pixpro.ph, and if somebody starts spinning up pix-pro.ph, it'll find out and it'll give an alert out to say, there's somebody out there who seems to have spun up a domain. Here you are. Here's your alert. Okay, so it's that kind of information it's able to provide. Another very important one, now that we have a lot of digital assets out there, is VIP monitoring, where you are able to add names of very important people in your organization, their email addresses, their identity. And again, monitor if the identity is now suddenly visible in the dark web for no given reason. Why is it there? But to be able to know that it's there. Okay, so those kind of alerting is possible. right? So these are some of the methods that you can use to alert. Even ransomware threats, right? If you feel that you're potentially from intelligence, you know that a particular ransomware is targeting your industry because you're in the financial sector, telecom, health, you can actually even create a monitor there. If this particular actor ransomware has got any linkage to my branding, let me know as soon as possible. So even if somebody in the dark web starts thinking about a ransomware campaign against an organization and they're sharing information, that will very quickly be visible and you will know it already. And this is only at the initial reconnaissance stage. Remember the first stage of the attack lifecycle. So it is really good that you can catch them as early as possible and be vigilant and do the right methods you need to keep them away. Now, having created all this monitor, what is it going to look like? So let's look at something here, right? So here, there's something that's come in here a moment ago, right? Now let's try and find something that is not Russian or some other language so we can actually look into it. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's just take a look at this one. So there is a domain protection for shoplist hosting here that says, no, this is not good. Sorry, let me just get another one, which is better. No, not really in depth. Okay, let's use this one because it's talking about Mandiant. So there's an actor called timenews.com who have posted something about Mandiant on Twitter, right? So this is something could be brand damaging. And this is a monitor that tells us, okay, obviously I cannot read this, I cannot interpret this, apologies. But the point is this monitor has given an alert to say that we have written a specific monitor, and let's look at that monitor. We have written a monitor to say that whenever there's a brand mention called Mandiant in any of the forums that looks malicious, please tell us. But the point here is, how do we know that is malicious? Because of intelligence. Because of intelligence, we are able to determine that this particular actor, timenews.com, is potentially saying some things that need further investigation and understanding what they're trying to say about Mandiant. So this is your classic brand protection. For that, you can take the right action when necessary. Now, monitors are the ones that create alerts, right? Obviously, if you have no monitors, it's not going to create any alerts, but this is how you're going to create alerts. Now, there's also a research tool where you are able to search on items of interest to see if there's any occurrences that we have found through our intelligence methods, right? So I tell you what, let's search PixPro. Okay, now let's see. So there is something here, there's a web publication content apparently on GitHub. So let's open that. That says under the URL, I think I saw this earlier, it's to do with your presence on Facebook. I think it kind of picks up, here we go. It kind of picks up that somebody is obviously able to understand that you have a Facebook presence and you have a video published there. And this is classic scraping of various people. Now here, this particular person has probably gone into and using GitHub, and it's also linking to various other sites to understand what's going on. So over here, he's actually saying there is a presentation done in March where PixPro had insights on application protection report. So you published it. So there's somebody trying to look at application presentation or application information, and you have published it on your Facebook presence, and it's at the back of a cyber conference done by the Australia Information. So at present, this is nothing malicious, but the point is the ability to know that these are going on gives you an idea if people should be doing this or they should not be doing this. Okay. So let me close that. There's another one here about PixPro partnering with world-leading cybersecurity firms in training and capacity building efforts. So great. So this is a public publication by orangemagazine.ph, and this is something that we also are aware about PixPro. Now, the thing is that our machine learning capabilities is scraping the web constantly and keeping all this data. So even if you are a subscriber to this, you can try and find out information about other organizations whom you might be interested in and finding more details about them through the research tool. So that it is quite lengthy here. And that's also a very good one here, where it's also found out that something has been published by upgrademag.com that he'd seen our illustrious leader, Angel, as a visionary by US sizes. So congratulations, Angel. So it's also picked up that as a potential presence as the chairman of PixPro. You've been honored as a visionary. So these are the levels of research tools that you can get from DTM, and the monitors you can create to be very specific to what you want to search. And then those monitors will trigger alerts that you can act upon. And this is to do with information and digital assets, which is information, data, whatever, that you cannot directly have control over, coupled with attack surface management, which tells you the vulnerability of your controlled public digital assets, overlaid by our threat intelligence that gives you unfettered access to real-time information and true actionable outcomes at the back of that. So let me pivot back to my deck. I've gone through the digital threat monitoring demo. Okay. Before, I don't know, Sir Alex, I don't know how much more time I have, but
Actually,
let me quick.
Yeah, Dan, please wrap up because we need to still engage our viewers for
Okay.
questions and answers.
I think let's open up for questions now. Let's open up for questions.
Okay, so you're done with your presentation. So thank you very much, Dan. No, so that was an interesting presentation you just delivered. No, so basically when I was trying to listen to your presentation, so I captured a lot in terms of how we are doing the digital risk protection. No, so if I may compare it to the world that Chairman Angel and I are working on. So very the same. I mean, in terms of doing the cybersecurity practice, so very important is first and foremost is knowing the threat, knowing your vulnerability, and then you have the threat monitoring as well as, and more importantly, the threat intelligence portion. So I'll just go to the viewers, no? May mga umaten ngayon, no? Mr. Chair, nandito si Miss Charmaine Balmonte, the Group CISO of Aboitiz. Miss Charmaine, good afternoon and thank you for attending the Kwentuhang Cyber. No? Welcome. So hopefully every week nandito ka, and in the few next session, baka pwede ka naming ma-invite as a resource speaker din. Good afternoon, Miss Charmaine. Si Ami Lynn Tabiliran nandito rin. Hi Ami, good afternoon. One of my batchmates sa college, sa PLM, Mr. Palileo Fortune, batch. Thank you for attending, no? So, sino pa ba nandito? So, if you have any questions, so it's the best time to ask now, no? As we are engaging Dan on this digital risk protection, no? But what I'm trying to message here as well, no? So, because this is focused more on the companies, no? On the companies that or the enterprise that we are operating with. But if you come to think of it, if you translate the presentation that Dan just made, no, to our personal life or everyday life, no, So all of us has our digital identities, no? So you are active in Facebook, you may be active in LinkedIn, you may be active in YouTube, in other social media. So it's only imperative for you guys to also protect those digital identities of you which are posted on the web, no? So a while ago, Dan mentioned about dark web. So I just want to explain it to our, I don't know, to our non-technical viewers who were here. So normally you were exposed to the websites that, for example, facebook.com, gmail.com, youtube.com. So that's what we call surface web. That's the upper portion of the internet. But there is a deeper portion of that, which is the dark web, as Dan is explaining a while ago. That part of the web is where the cyber criminals are. Those transactions related to selling of credit card information, selling of stolen data, that's where all it happens, no, mga viewers natin. And ang sinasabi ni Dan kanina is that you need to have to scout those dark web. Ang ginagawa nila sa Mandiant is to get more information, no, doon sa ilalim sa dark web, no, so that that information that they will get in there, the threat intelligence that they will get in there, will go back to their technology to be able to provide their customers with a rich view of data, no. Same with us, no. For example, for our part ni Mr. Chair sa Security Operation Center namin, no. So we have that threat intelligence as well that helps us to predict, enhance our predictive capability in terms of our cybersecurity practice. We have more than 200 million IOCs in our database, no, in PLDT group. So meaning those are blacklisted IP addresses that has been used in malicious activity, blacklisted domain, etc. Fully qualified domain name that are malicious. So we use that and process that to be able to protect and detect future attacks or maybe zero-day malware, etc. So okay, Dan. So going back to the topic this afternoon, no. So how would you relate? My first question is coming from me as the host, no. How would you relate this digital risk protection if and when, for example, an ordinary Filipino user, right, would have their digital identity in the web, no? So how they could protect those digital identities? So what's your take on that one?
Right. No, it's a good question, right? Because over here, we kind of talked about organization, as you said, but at the end of the day, the individuals are probably just as important because all their data is out there, right? It's sometimes going to the fundamental basics of our human nature. The fundamental basics of our human nature is that when we have something of value that is physical, we protect it, okay? But when we go to the digital web and the digital world, I think we seem to be a bit more free to share our information than we would. I'll give you a classic example, right? A classic example is if somebody comes and knocked on my door and they said, I want to see your passport. I think I'll just close the door and probably even call the police, right? But on the other hand, what do? I go back inside, I get my new passport. I'm quite happy to take a photo of it and post it on social media to say, hey, I've got my new passport. So what I'm trying to say is that all of us as humans have built-in good instinct that we gain through our raising by our parents or whatever. We need to use that same good, strong instincts we get through education from school, high school, college in the digital world. Keep that in mind, that everything that you're going to tell somebody, think twice. Would I tell that through my open door, right? So the idea here is be vigilant, think twice before you post on your digital media. The problem is just because it's prevalent that people are sharing, okay? Be very careful on what you share because the information that you share can often be easily abused, okay? It's just equate to that. If I wouldn't do it by my front door, if I physically won't share my data with somebody, why should I do it digitally? In fact, I should be doubly strong digitally because the digital world is not only as big as my house, my town, my country, but it's the global thing, right? Yeah, it's the vigilance
Dan,
and apply
Dan,
your
are you
instinct.
done with your presentation, Dan?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, you can remove the sharing now. All right.
So I hope, Sir Alex, that kind of answered your thought
Yeah.
about how the individual, yeah, because this is exactly what I tell my friends, my family, who are all, I mean, as young as teenagers who have their own mobile phones. Be careful, right? How you post things. Think twice the value of it. If you wouldn't do it physically, don't do it digitally, and doubly think of it.
Yep. So another point that is affecting our our citizenry is the scams, no? Scams online, digital scams. Sa matter of fact, I don't know mga Kapix Pro, if you watch, no, nagsalita po si Chairman Angel nung isang beses sa TV regarding this one on how to prevent yung mga digital scams, no? So this is part of your digital protection as well, no? So dapat we are very wary of this mga Kapix Pro, no? So Chairman Angel, your thoughts.
Well, it's really a big problem because our effort, especially in Pix Pro, is very little compared to the universe.
Yep.
And as mentioned by Dan, the digital space of every person is not limited to his or her residence or his or her town, or even not limited to the country. No? And the the moment you post something online, it stays there forever. Right? And I think Dan was able to capture that very clear example, no? Through the use of this threat intelligence platform of Mandiant. And on the cyber defense perspective, that is very important. As you know, VP Alex, we are always on the predictive,
Yes.
very heavy on the predictive aspect of security. So we always want to identify the threat first before it is launched against us. No? And one of the efforts that we do on a 24/7 basis is to gather threat intelligence information. No? But not everyone is like us, and not everyone has the capability to do things like this. No? I think my question to Dan is, because there is a need to provide this capability even to small organizations or small enterprises. Probably the question is Mandiant like other big businesses are targeting also only the large enterprises, or are you guys in Mandiant or have something that will also focus on providing this capability to small enterprises or even micro?
Right.
Yes. No, absolutely right. So, as I said earlier, our fundamental building block is our intelligence, and as what you said, sir, it's really important how you can build on that. The intelligence information that Mandiant provides is actually available to anyone who subscribes to it, right? So we have the initial offering, which is our freemium offering, where once you registered on the freemium portal, the basic information of what is happening out there with regards to threat is available to you. So if there's a small organization which is really don't have the depth of investment in curated threat intelligence, but to be able to get enough intelligence that they can do their own curation, they can actually go and obtain that by obtaining access to our freemium service, which will give them at the fundamental the threat intelligence. Sure, it's going to be a lot of information there, but the point is it's there for them to consume it.
I think the next question is on the capability to process. No? I suppose this is huge database, no, or feeds. But I think VP Alex, the next question is, how do we now equip the micro and the small, micro, small, and medium enterprises so that when they are able to access this threat intelligence information from Mandiant, for example, no, they can process and use it to do threat correlation on their level.
Yep.
No? So that's another very compelling issues that we need to be able to address. No? And with that, I think everyone needs to work together. We have to have that platform. We need to have that capability cascaded down to the smallest organization, or even the individual and home subscribers should be able to have access to this capability. Not necessarily operate it themselves, but someone has to do it for them.
Yeah, agree, Mr. Chair. So we have a question done from our audience. No, maybe he's working on a corporate environment. So he was asking, I think you answered this already. Is this a subscription based, and how is the licensing of your threat intelligence?
Right. Yes, this is a subscription. It's offered through the SaaS portal, right? So you subscribe to it, and the way it's subscribed is based on the size of the organization. So that is the measure that is required in order to subscribe to it. So the system needs to know whether your organization is 100 people strong, 1,000 people strong, 10,000. So the measure is number of employees. That's how it's sized.
Okay, a follow-up question from our good guy from the Cybersecurity Operation Group of PLDT. Ian, no? So the question, Dan, is what are your thoughts on insider threat? That's number one, which is a very essential part of threat intelligence. How does Mandiant solution do this capability? Is it via automation, AI, ML, UEBA? So how does Mandiant do it?
Okay, right. A good question. Now, what we talked about now is a lot about the public side, right? We just looked at the attack surface. But Mandiant has other methods of other technologies, how it can even help look at insider threat, right? So how does it do it? Now, one way is the fact that when you have UEBA, okay, and you have a really good, well-tuned UEBA with the right intelligence, you should be able to correlate if a particular insider threat is happening, whether it's malicious insider threat or somebody who's actually been compromised and appears to be actually exfiltrating data, right? So to be able to do that, we have technologies that can actually test to see how good is your security controls, right? We can validate your security controls. So to see whether, typically one of the key ways of identifying whether data is exfiltrating from an insider threat is DLP, right? It's a way of validating. We have technologies that can validate whether your DLP is doing what it is doing. But the point is, it is not just DLP. It's got to look at it in defense in depth, right? Is how well is your DLP acting on that exfil? How is your EDR acting on that exfil? How is your perimeter firewall acting, and your IDS is acting on that exfil? So it's the ability to see whether you are is it being detected? Is it being prevented? Or at the very least, is it being alerted? Have you got a monitoring mechanism that whatever that is not normal, which is UEBA, anomaly detection, how well is it being alerted? And do you have the processes to be able to act upon that? Now, the whole thing about cybersecurity is just not technology. Technology enables us all to work better, easier, at speed, but we still need the education, right? We still need the education. We still need to empower the analysts with the right processes, with the right awareness on how to identify whether all this is true or otherwise.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I would like to read, Mr. Chair, a very good comment here coming from our good friend Albert Remo. So from your message kanina, Mr. Chair, he said he much agreed that we need to protect not just our PII but our brand as well. This is a critical because our brand is our business identity or often our after ego online. true that some asset loss can be recovered, but a damaged brand will take a lot to correct. So, I agree with you, Brother Betong. No? So, in cybersecurity, again, the reputational damage is the more catastrophic effect of any successful cyber breach. No? So, sabi nga nila, it takes 20 years to build a reputation, but a few minutes of cyber incident to ruin everything. So, that would be the same also if we applied it on a personal level, no, sa atin, no. So ganun din, no. So very good comment, Albert. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, no. So
That's why you always go back to the major risks, right? It will guide you from making the right decisions. So everything we do in cybersecurity is always based on or shall I say is always risk based. No, we don't implement something out of nothing. We implement something because there is a risk, and that risk, there are identified threats, and if you have vulnerabilities that could raise the percentage likelihood of the threat, then that you should do something about it. No? So it's always on the risk based approach, and having a damaged brand is having a reputational issue, and that's very dangerous for an organization.
agree.
So agree tayo doon.
Certainly, Mr. Chair.
Baby Alex, we are 3 minutes past 6 o'clock.
Okay, let's wrap up, no. We hate to say this, no, but we need to wrap up, mga Kapix Pro. So we want to hear your final thoughts and message to our viewers, Dan, regarding digital risk protection. Just wrap it up, 1 minute or so.
Sure. Okay. So the key here is, I won't say simple, but the focus is it's quite straightforward, right? Make sure you know what is happening to your digital assets, not only what you can control of, but also what you have no control of, i.e. the publication, the brand that we just spoke about. Okay, how a brand can be smeared badly, especially when it's bad, because once it's out there, it's out there. The recovery, like what Sir Alex was saying, you could take 20 years to build a great brand and minutes to completely destroy it. So make sure that you are very vigilant on how your branding is. And the only way you can do that is to be able to apply right intelligence to able to find out what's happening out there, because the web is full of spaces that nobody can get into, just as the description of the dark web by Sir Alex. So make an effort to try and understand, get expertise, get help to make sure you protect your brand, because your brand is what keeps your organization operating today, tomorrow, and in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Dan, and thank you for being our guest speaker this afternoon. Sa akin naman, mga Kapix Pro, it's more on proactive approach to cybersecurity. Lagi namin pinipreach nila Chairman Angel to. Preparedness is the key. We have to be very proactive. We don't just wait for an attack to be happen. So on the on the corporate level, that's true. So on the personal level naman, sa mga non-technical nating mga viewers, I remember kasi, Mr. Chair, nung isang araw, minessage ako nung cousin ko from the province. So she mentioned to me that her Facebook account was hacked, no? So we're trying to recover it. And again, yun, gaya ng sinasabi natin, even ordinary people will get affected by this hack, by this, scam online. So we have to be wary about this. So mga Kapix Pro, sa mga nanonood dito, proactive approach. So yung mga security setting ng mga sinasalihan yung social media sites, you have to use two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, etc. And you have to be always very vigilant and very proactive in terms of cybersecurity. Yun lang sa akin. Mr. Chair, final words on your side.
Sabi nila, prevention is better than cure. But to make sure that you have the highest level of quality on your prevention side, you make sure that your predictive capability is in place and functioning 24/7. If you can predict the threat, you can improve the way you prevent and the way you detect all these threats. And having multiple sources of threat intelligence information is always an advantage to you, to your family, to your business, and to the whole community. So, yun lang ang message natin na VP Alex.
Okay,
At
thank you, Mr. Chair. Papaalam na tayo. So,
paalam na tayo kahit mga bata pa tayo. Pero 6:07 na at Friday na naman. Ang sabi nila, happy
happy
weekend.
weekend.
Pero sa cybersecurity, happy
Happy
lang.
lang. Walang weekend.
weekend.
Thank you guys. See you next
Thank you so
Friday.
much. Have a good
dinner.
weekend. Stay
Thank you,
safe.
Dan. Stay
Thanks,
safe.
Dan.
You're welcome. Thank you.